So good evening. Welcome to Sri Aurobindo and Mother Study Circle. And as we are aware, we are reading the passages from Looking from Within compilation. Before we start, let's just take a few moments to gather ourselves with the help of the Shanti mantra, and as we always do, with the focus on our breath. Thank you, and apologize. The stopping is always abrupt. So beautiful that when I wish, when I pray, when I aspire for anything, especially for somebody else, for, like right now we were saying, Ram, Vishwadeva, Rapa, Redhi, it's like I am a part of it. So even though I'm not asking it for myself, if I'm asking it for anything, for anybody, I am included in that also. So that can also be my cleverness if I want to see it that way. So just looking for where we left last time. I somehow don't remember where we left. Did we finish this paragraph? One may try to find out or not. So not sure whether we have to start with the right spirit or before. Does anybody remember? Or we can just take a overlap.
I think we did the gymnastic spirit. Maybe the word gymnastic rings a bell, but I'm not sure if others are in unison with me.
Okay. Yeah, we did that. You're right. Yeah, I wasn't even reading. Perfect. Thank you, Vasu.
Problem.
So we'll start with the right spirit. Or did we do this also? I feel sounding familiar now. Okay, we'll just start with the right spirit, and if we feel we have done it, we'll just still read. So if anybody is willing, we can read number 3, the right spirit.
The right spirit. Aspire, concentrate in the right spirit, and whatever the difficulties, you are sure to attain the aim you have put before. Says Aurobindo in the verses of yoga. What is the right spirit? It depends on the case. The right spirit is the will to perfect oneself or the will to be calm, or it depends, you see, on the circumstances. It means that in each circumstance, there is a spirit which is the suitable spirit, the one you ought to have, the attitude you must inwardly take. It depends on the case. For example, you see, as soon as one feels a wave of physical disequilibrium, of ill health coming, well, to concentrate in the right spirit is to concentrate in an inner calm, a trust in the divine grace, and a will to remain in physical equilibrium and good health. This is the right spirit. In another case, one may feel a wave of anger or a fit of temper coming from outside. Then one should withdraw into an inner calm, a detachment from superficial things, with a will to express only what comes from above and always be submissive to the divine will. This is the right spirit. And in each case, it is something like that. Naturally, it always comes back to the same thing, that one must remember the divine and put oneself at his service and will what he wills.
Yeah, according to me, we have done this. It's but either in some other session because I do remember reading it. So if there's any reflection we can take, otherwise I think we can go forward. We did do the right fit last time.
Now that you say, I think I recall, maybe did you say something to the effect of thy will be done? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
like as in, it's like it's a simple question. What is the right spirit? And the answer it depends on the situation. So if there's ill health, the rejection or the
Yes.
acceptance would be the right spirit. If there is something else, so one cannot say this is the right spirit. It based on what is happening, what is one aspiring towards,
Yes.
and yeah. So we did do it, but I mean, in
Yes.
case there's anything that we would want to discuss, we can. Otherwise, we can take this and move forward. And next time I'll start checking. I think I'm growing. I mean, of course, I'm growing old, so I should not depend on my brain to remember. Yeah.
Taruna, that's not the right spirit.
Yeah, that's true. No, but see, realizing that now I don't remember, I should just give 2 minutes before the session at least and check. So that can be the right spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we do different study circles, so it's very possible that it's confusing where we stopped last.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll try to keep a track as well.
So we can move forward then. Ritu, you can just finish this. Let's see whether we took the second half also or not.
One must remember the divine and put oneself at his service and will what he wills. But in one case, you may want the calm. In the other, you may want the force. In another still, you may want health. In yet another, something which resists the pressure from outside. When one is perplexed, when one has to make a choice, when one doesn't know what the right thing to do is, you see, one has to choose among 2 or 3 or 4 possible decisions and doesn't know which is the right one. Then one must put himself as far as possible in contact with his psychic being and the divine presence in him. Present the problem to the psychic consciousness and ask for the true light, the true decision, the one most in accordance with the divine will, and try to listen and receive the inspiration. In each case, you see it is the right attitude.
Yeah, thank you. So this part we didn't cover, but we did cover till here that his will and what he wills. After seeing this enough times that, what one thinks has no basis really. Like it could be really a wrong thought. Like say, for example, I could be feeding my child this thinking it's really healthy. And tomorrow I would find out, this could be the unhealthiest thing. But, was feeding with this faith that this is the right thing. But all I'm just trying to say that being the limited self that I am and seeing the so many contradictions in my being, I cannot know. So, there's this amazing teacher, if I may say, Dr. Sumitra Basu. A lot of us would be familiar with him. Jagan, are you familiar with him? He must have taken you did a course, right, with Pondicherry. He's the psychiatrist who's the editor of
Um,
Namaha.
no, ma'am. Maybe my
Okay.
parents. I have not.
No, but you did the course, right? The one on attachment. So he was one of those speakers. He usually closes the last session, but that's okay. I'm sorry. So
So there were, yeah, there were a couple of sessions I missed. Last one was by Alok Pandey.
okay. So usually Dr. Basu is the one who closes these, conferences. So I thought you
Yes,
might
yes.
have done. So, he is like, if you listen to him, it's like one can faint. Like he's just so amazing. And he's known as the Duranto Express in his circle because he speaks so fast without pauses. And he speaks a lot about, that how a lot of time they say that the brain is sharpened, the will is sharpened when you focus on this point, the third eye chakra. And he keeps saying that, aspire that, may my will, because it doesn't matter, but may your will be done through mine. May your will be done through mine. Because then the right action, of course, will take place. Because you are aware of Dr. Sumitra Basu, right?
Yeah, yeah. Speaks very fast, really
Yeah.
fast. So that it helps, it helps you in focusing and concentrating and
Yeah,
noting.
because if you miss something, he's gone. Like he's
Yeah.
really, it's a pleasure to hear him. Yeah, so just sorry, coming back to the section here, unless there was anything before. So this
So
is
how does one listen to the psychic will or the being? I mean, just focus and concentrate and be calm and try to listen to the psychic being.
yeah, we would get to that, but see again, I don't know why the same quotes keep coming to me. I've been using this for, I don't know, weeks. Like Rumi says that there's a voice that doesn't use words, listen, right? Every time or any time I'm doing something, there is a voice which is usually very, very soft, which is just telling me कि don't go there. या फिर ठीक नहीं है. मतलब if I'm talking about somebody behind their back, there's something in me which feels constricted. If I'm saying something good, like right now, say I was saying that, Dr. Basu is amazing, for example. So I feel an expansion. If I say, I don't know what he does, I don't understand a word he says, he goes so. I mean, although even if it is a fact, if I'm saying a good thing, I feel an expansion. If I'm saying a bad thing, or an unnecessary thing, I could feel a constriction. So I think when one is more in connection with oneself, when one is more conscious about how the body is reacting, the inner being is reacting, which is there. It's just that I am not there to receive it. And we studied the same thing, this morning in the Friday study circle and for you yesterday evening. In that also, Mother was talking about that the consciousness is there, which tells us. And it's very easy, but we are not there to see what am I feeling, where is it taking me. So that one thing is there, that just being more honest towards how my being is reacting to any situation. And otherwise also, there are so many meditations and practices, and in general, whenever we are able to sit in stillness, we want to, connect more and more with it. And again, Dr. Basu, and even I think once I attended a conference with James. So, just for Deepa and Vasu, in Pondicherry, there are some speakers which are really famous, who like are really great speakers. So Dr. Sumitra Basu, James, Dr. Alok Pandey, they are basically the founders of a magazine called Namaha, and they hold a lot of amazing conferences throughout the year. So just I was referring to them. So they say that, if you're sitting and if you're concentrating, one can say whatever the divine one believes in. But in their cases, because it's mind, Shri Aurobindo, they would say, ki keep thinking, this is like you're chanting, like ma, ma, ma. So he said alternatively, I mean, even if you're saying ma, you're invoking that divine presence. But if you just say, psychic being, wake up, like psychic being, take over, you're reminding the king to take over the forgotten kingdom. But he has forgotten because you have forgotten it. So sometimes you need to invoke it. So I find that very interesting, that how even saying that can give it strength. How somebody who has the capacity to rule but has never been given any regard, if you tell them, if you urge them, right, that please, you must rule again, then they start gaining some power, right? They start waking up. So again, there are some practices. Yes, Vasu, there would be talks available on YouTube, and there are conferences that keep happening. So I can ask James to add you to the group if you wish, where you can know which is the next conference that would be happening. Jagan just attended a conference on attachment. I don't know how his experience was, but he said he missed a few, so I
Out of the six, I've missed two, but the rest were amazing. Especially the one that ended with Alok Pandey. The thing that was very surprising to me is how knowledgeable he is, yet how simple his explanation was. Even to a mind like mine, it was very easy to grasp and to understand. And it was beautiful.
yeah. So we call him Alok Da, again Da for big brother, and yeah.
Actually, you're right. In the meeting also, I was calling him Alok Pandeyji, and I saw that people were looking at me surprised a little bit.
Yeah,
So Alok Da is the right way. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Vasu, we are all up for it. Ritu has also been wanting to go again since a long time, you know?
I've just been to Pondicherry once, and that too as a tourist.
Mm. Good thought, let's aspire. Okay. So, moving further, so we'll read this one. But in one case, you may want the calm, in the other, you may want the force. In another, still you may want health. In yet another, something which resists the pressure from outside. Like if you're getting influence and you don't want to succumb to pressure, you may just want that. So again, the right spirit would depend on it. This is just a recap from the last passage, paragraph. So now let's take this one. When one is perplexed, when one has to make a choice, when one doesn't know what the right thing to do is, you see, one has to choose among two or three or four possible decisions and doesn't know which is the right one. Then one must put himself as far as possible in contact with his psychic being. So they say, psychic being is basically the divine energy, right, in us. So that divine, the light which is living in me. and the divine presence in him present the problem to the psychic consciousness and ask for the true light, the true decision, the one most in accordance with the divine will, and try to listen and receive the inspiration. In each case, you see it is the right attitude. So, this is quite contradictory to how we usually solve problems, right? We sit with a pen and paper, do positives, negatives. We might ask 25 people what to do. We might, I don't know, do read case studies in certain cases. So all that mental analysis, but remembering that I have a mind, I'm not a mind, and mind is also a limited tool that we discuss very often. It cannot see the big picture. So when we offer it to any divine that we have faith in, then it gets transferred. It's their problem now. Like a child, when a child offers anything to the mother that you take care, then he doesn't need to worry about it. Just last week, my kid had to return his library book in his school and he told me, "Ye rakh dena." And I said, "Aap khud rakho." So I didn't keep it, he didn't keep it. And he was so furious when he came back. "But I told you." And I said, "But I told you." So, but the horror on his face that how could you let me down, or how could you forget, was pretty interesting to watch. So just saying that. So yeah, Vasu, would you like to ask that? Like, would you like to unmute and say that?
Yeah, sure. So what I wanted to say was, when we talk about this third eye or so I'm not sure if I'm putting it correctly. Like, is that inner voice, that is always present. So when we are making decision and we want to know, okay, are we making the right decision? Are we then saying from this paragraph that we leave the logical mind, we leave the emotional part, and we invoke this inside voice, which is always there actually, but we, for whatever reason, we don't hear it out. And that would guide us to make the right decision. Is that what I can interpret correctly from this?
Yeah, I think this is something which is again a little bit beyond the comprehension of the mind. When one starts doing, one realizes what one is asking for. Because if we want to actually hear the inner voice, one thing is one needs practice, right? That one is able to hear the right inner voice, because a lot of time the inner voice could also be, tainted with impulses, false intuitions, or just pressure or fears. But we say that nahi, ये तो मेरी आत्मा की आवाज है या मेरी आत्मा रो रही है. We use these things not knowing what that is. So one thing it said was that connect with your psychic being, which is your God, which is residing within you. The second thing they said was offer it, offer it to the gods. That say how a Meera would offer everything to the Krishna, right? Like even if she was given poison, she took it as a prasad from him and nothing happened to her. So for me also this is possible कि I do what I think is right, but before I do it, I offer it to the God that, this is what I'm planning to do, but because I don't know what is good for me, although this appears to be my best choice, please only do what is best for me. So a lot of times, what I say, there are different lines for different people. What I say is, hold my hand and take me where I need to be. Because I honestly don't know where I need to be. Like, I accept fully I don't. And then one has to leave. Then one has to say that, okay, I will be guided. But if one is logically trying to understand, but tell me, how is one guided? How is one sure? So I think then one just needs to experiment with it, with faith, with a little bit like bowed head, and then one sees how it works. It's a bit beyond the mind or categories, right? It cannot be clearly said. It's something that one needs to experience for themselves. But I think psychic being is something we could read more about for sure, and it could be further there too to get more light. Yes, Vasu, please unmute and share what you're saying.
So then, from what I'm understanding you, and correct me if I'm wrong, then the inner voice is different than from the psychic being, the psychic consciousness.
Yeah, so basically, since I am not used to the psychic ruling me, I am mostly ruled by impulses, patterns, habits, conditionings, and the collective consciousness. कि जो सब कर रहे हैं मुझे वो ठीक लगता है, जिसको सब मोरालिटी एथिक्स बोलते हैं मुझे वो ठीक लगता है, जो बोलते हैं सब कि ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है वो मुझे ठीक लगता है, राइट? सो टिल आई एम रूल्ड बाय ऑल दीज इन्फ्लुएंसेस, my inner voice too would be ruled by these influences. So the more and more I connect within, the more and more I, kind of polish the mirror on which there's a lot of mud, there's a lot of dirt. Then slowly I'll start becoming conscious to something which is even define ethics, which is defining, not defining, define the moralities, the responsibilities. But there's something that says कि हाँ मुझे पता नहीं है क्यों, but फिर भी मुझे ये करना है. But right now, if that even comes to it, and even if I can hear it, I will not follow it. I will not be able to justify it. And I need justifications. So till I have reached the state in which I can fully, in which I would know that now the psychic is acting, and I would know, they say, that if you are wondering if it's a psychic acting, then it has not taken its power. It hasn't started ruling. But till then, I can just, in my all honesty and sincerity, keep offering it to whoever I have, faith in, and give the, how they say, the driving seat to them, and sit on the passenger side, that you take me. It appears that I am doing, and yet I know you are doing it. So you said if you could understand me correctly, and what I am saying is that this is not something that can actually be understood really. It is something that one has to experience for one to know what I'm talking.
So then that would mean that I'm just an instrument, like as in Gita says that you have to do your karma, right? You have to put in the efforts, but you're not in control of the outcome. So then I still continue to do what I do. However, I make myself quiet so that that psychic being can be activated. I'm able to listen to it. And then I'm an instrument to put whatever is being conveyed to me by way of action.
Yes.
Are you with me?
Yes. So basically, in the integral yoga, one of the deepest aspirations that a lot of sadhaks aspire for would be, make me an instrument of thy will. An instrument doesn't have preferences, it doesn't have pain, it doesn't suffer, it doesn't say, I want heat, I want cold, I want this, I want that. Like Krishna's Bansuri is the example which is often used, right? So it just waits for Krishna to put air in it, and then it just, flows with the beautiful tunes. And when Krishna doesn't need it, it's just sitting silently. So yes, the instrument would be a good way to put it, but in the beginning, when we say this, it feels strange that why would I want to be an inactive instrument? But when you fall in love The Krishna's Basuri would not want anything else but to be Krishna's Basuri, if you know what I'm saying. So again, it's a little step aside from the logic, and yet it's more in the love domain. That because you love Krishna so much, you would want nothing more than to be his Basuri, for example.
A few things I would like to share after listening to what Vasuji was saying. Yes, a few, I guess, less than a year ago, or maybe a little over a year ago, I was, you know, I had accepted a lot of influences. I'll not say anybody influenced me. I'll just say I accepted the that influence. But the thing is, in my head, I knew that it was wrong, and I couldn't resist it. So what you said, ma'am, is so beautiful. Is that I would tell the mother that, mother, this is wrong. I know that, but I cannot resist it. So I'm going to do it. But you be with me. And if I can only learn with the punishment, then punish me. I'm okay with the punishment. I'm ready for the punishment, but I want to do this because I'm not able to control that, that element in me that's kind of pushing me to take it, take it, take it. And Vasuji, the best part is that mother never let me do that. Even I wanted to. Even if I wanted to jump off a cliff, no, I would. I think I don't know. I would float and come back. That's how it is. Like as soon as I gave it to her. But um, the second, I'll say three things. Take some time. Second thing is, you know, I especially I feel that I was also under this had this question that how does the vital speak, because in my head, no, it was always limited to um, my understanding of these things has always been limited. I would think that you know um, the vital would have a very sweet voice. It will tell me very nicely that Jagan, don't do this, and the psychic voice would say, Jagan, do this, in a commanding voice. I would think that this is how it's gonna come into my head. But what I did forgot is my my vital is very smart. It knows how to mimic. So what it would do to me sometimes is it would talk to me like it is a psychic. And it would tell me that actually, Jagan, this is okay. You can do it. You've been so good so for so long, but you can do it. And I would do it. And then after that, मुझे पता चलता है कि मुझे उल्लू बनाया गया. But it was a process that kept on repeating. um, my understanding with my limited knowledge is this, I don't think I can hear the psychic saying anything. I think I can feel it, but I cannot express it. It's and to me, the only way I can feel it is by calming my mind, is by calming all the question and answers, and all the things that erupt inside my head, like my mind, my vital saying do this, do that, do this, do that, my physical saying go there, go this, all these things. The moment I calm this down, only then I can feel it. I still cannot hear it, I can feel it. The last one is I think of a freedom fighter. um, so when a freedom fighter, he is thinking with his regular senses or with a regular mind. I don't know if this is correct. I'm not. I don't know if I'm presenting this correctly, but as far as I know, a freedom fighter, when he's looking at his country and he's looking at his people suffering, two things will come. One is the mind will say that the fighter will say, what about your dreams? You've grown up to do so much. You've done so much. You've read so much. You've worked so much. What about your family, your wife, your kids, your parents, and all that? And then there's one, there's a little bit of, a nudge inside the head saying that, what about the country? What about the people? They're suffering. They are people. You have the capacity, then why don't you do it? And these two keep on talking. It's only when this person is fully touched or very sad and shocked, and in a state that he is just sitting down and just looking at his country, and he has nothing, like his mind just goes blank. There is no more questioning. He just shuts everything, the mind, the vital, the psychic, everything. And that's when he gets this calling that, what, no matter you live, you die, you have a roof on your head, you have a food on your plate, just go and do it for the country. And it doesn't say in a voice, it says in actions. Just does it. He doesn't have to listen. It's like the god is having your remote control, and now he is working. um, he's handling you. It just I cannot wait for that day. But yeah, it is that's how I understand it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jagan. I think you put it very beautifully with examples. And I was visualizing while you were talking as well. And I think I'm with you in this, that um, I also believe that, like there's just some things which are in our control, and for everything else, although sometimes the ego might get in the way, saying that I'm the one who's doing all these things. And that's what like Taruna is speaking to, the instrument part of it, that we are just mere instruments. And sometimes that gets clouded because we always think we are the doer of everything. I think there's some divine force that is using us as a medium to do what has to be done. Um, and I also believe that in those quiet moments when I'm not sure whether I'm on the right path, Jagan, like what you're saying too, is like, I'll just pray to God that I don't know what I'm doing is right or wrong, but just guide me, please. Just guide me, please. And what I've noticed is that, like you said about that, you can just feel, right? So if you're in tune with your body, you can just feel that it feels good. Like Taruna, right? What you mentioned earlier, that it just makes you feel good when you're talking about Dr. Basu. Um, but you gave those two examples, right? So whenever the same thing, when I'm doing something and things flow naturally and I feel good, like, there's a good energy, I know I'm on the right path. When there's a lot of constriction, like, then sometimes I'm in debate, like, okay, what am I doing here? And then I have to take a step back and introspect, like, okay, is this really right? Like, Jagan, like what you said about the freedom fighter, right? Like, okay, the two things, the two debates that goes on. So thank you so much for sharing.
So I remember, initially Monica had shared a meditation which was on connecting with the psychic being, a Gnostic center meditation. So I could not earlier actually know what is psychic being. And I would always ask questions to both of you, Monica and you. What is psychic being? I mean, something so abstract. So after doing that meditation for I think 15-20 days, I did start getting a little feel of it. So maybe even you would be having the link, right, Taru? So if you can just share it, it might help. Yeah, it's a very beautiful meditation.
Yeah, I'll share. Yeah. So since we are here, I thought we are touching the word it being for the first time, especially for Deepa and Vasu. And it's always, you keep getting confused. So I've just pulled up the sunlit path. Again, these are passages by the mother, like from what mother had said or written. So we'll just read about the psychic being before we move forward. So if anybody is willing, they can read this. Thank
I'll read it. The psychic being. The psychic being is a center of light and truth and knowledge and beauty and harmony, which the divine self in each of you creates by his presence, little by little. It is influenced, formed, and moved by the divine consciousness of which it is a part and parcel. It is in each of you the deep inner being which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. I will read that just one minute. It is in each of you the deep inner being which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. It is the intermediary between the divine consciousness and your external consciousness. It is the builder of the inner life. It is that which manifests in the outer nature the order and rule of the divine will. If you become aware in your outer consciousness of the psychic being within you and unite with it, you can find the pure eternal consciousness and live in it instead of being moved by the ignorance as the human being constantly is. You grow aware of the presence of an eternal light and knowledge within you, and to it you surrender and integrally consecrated to it and moved by it in all things.
Okay, you want to pause? Yeah. So
I thought I only had to read one paragraph, so
no, that's okay. So we can pause and you can finish it up. So does that, I hope it sheds more light. So you know how again it's a very basic, I don't know what word to use, like Sanatan Dharma, more Indian concept, right? That there is a light. You know how we say that there's this big light and then there's small candles. So there's a candle that is lit in me. That is the light. No, aham brahma asmi. I am that. Soham. These are the verses that we have grown up with. So that thing, that that energy, the God in me is my psychic being, is how I see it or I feel it. So center of light and truth, knowledge and beauty and harmony, which the divine self in each of us, in which the divine in each of us creates by his presence. It is influenced, formed, and moved by the divine consciousness of which it is a part and a past. I think you've read the rest. The deep inner being, in the beginning, Basu and Deepa had missed it, but how we spoke about the inner being, the innermost being, the outer being. So this is like the inmost being. So here they're talking about the connection between the inmost and the outer. That how usually we are so busy seeing the waves of the ocean because we are standing on the beach and we see that this is what it is. Say if a small child will go to a beach, if somebody asks him, what did you see? He'll just say waves, right? That, oh my God, it was so much fun. Again, they would come, they would go, they would come, they would go. But somebody who's, I don't know, a taller or somebody which has more insight would be able to see that there is a depth too. Just the surface is moving. The deeper ocean, even a bit further, is all still. If there's a diver, when he dives, he would experience the stillness of the ocean. So it's that connection, that knowing that yes, there are waves on the surface, but the depth is just silence and calm. So it is in each of you, the deep inner being, which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. We don't usually have this aspiration. The way we live life with the outer mostly seems enough. But if we are either disgusted, or if we are in too much pain, or if we have had enough, then comes this question, this sigh of pain that कुछ तो होगा इससे ज़्यादा, ये तो नहीं हो सकता. And then one starts wondering के what the scene is, what this life is all about. So it is the intermediary between the divine consciousness, that God energy in me, and the external consciousness. It is the builder of the inner life. It is that which manifests in the outer nature, the order, the rule of divine will. If you become aware in your outer consciousness of the psychic being within you and unite with it, you can find the pure eternal consciousness and live in it. Instead of being moved by the ignorance as the human being, as I can read it as I am, instead of being moved by ignorance as I usually am, I grow aware of the presence of an eternal light and knowledge within myself, and to it I surrender and am integrally consecrated to it and moved by it in all. So instead of the outer affecting me all the time, if I am in touch with my stillness, then the stillness can affect the outer all the time. So, we had read about Sri Aurobindo, that how once when, what was the word? Tornado or something like this, a storm was coming, and mother went to his room to close the window. She realized that his room is totally silent. So there was so much peace and stillness around him that even the winds dare not, the rains dare not enter his room. So how beautiful or amazing is that? For us, even reading this at times gives us a lot of motivation and strength that, wow, this too is my possibility as a human being. So any reflections or questions before we move forward with the psychic being?
You mentioned about the Sri Aurobindo's room being very calm and no matter what was happening outside. And just, I think yesterday, my therapist was telling me about the same thing, like a little different imagery, but how the eye of the storm, it's so calm. And as the tornado just around it, there's so much of disturbance and there's so much of fury, but right at the center, there is so much of calmness. I was just reminded by that when you mentioned.
Yes, thank you, Vasu. Yes, Chad.
No, I know this whole passage that I just read. After you said instead of human being, I'll say I replace all those U's with I. And it is even more powerful. Like it even affects a lot more. And yeah.
Yeah. Vasu, even Kabir ji has this lot of dohas based on this, like, Chalti Chakki and all. So again, in that he mentions that how in the whole Chakki, everything is getting crushed. But the center, the one who's at the center is not moving, right? So that's what, a lot of the masters and mystics tell us, to sit in the center of the being, so that you don't have to move with everything. With each high, you don't have to say that, wow, see where I am. With each low, with each dump, you don't have to cry out in pain because you are anchored in the center. And lot of times our faith in the divine has to be that is the center, so that you don't go up and down. You are being taken care of. Yes, Deepa, please.
No, there was nothing more to add from my end.
Oh, okay. So you were giving us a glimpse of your divine presence.
I love what you just said, Taruna. It just spoke to me. Is that I'm finding lately, just with so many experiences, that I find so much grounding and so much strength in the faith. And my aspiration is that, like, every day, that's what I aspire. That, I don't want to run off to the forest, or go away and get divorced from reality. But how can I, staying amidst all this chaos, can be grounded and maintain that calmness? I hope to one day. It's a work in progress, but I think that's really next level to be able. And I really admire people who are able to maintain that. And I think it requires a lot of discipline. And like you said, that just being connected to the divine consciousness. So hopefully I'm on the track. um,
Vasu, we think that everything has to be big and larger than life, right? Any time in your life, and I'm sure there would be many times when you had chosen peace over a fight, when you had been able to control your natural impulses and say that it's okay, let it be, I don't want to create a scene. That is it. But slowly those things get extended, right? Slowly that expansion covers more and more of my being. But it's not, you cannot say that one day I hope to achieve it. You have achieved it in moments so many times if you can reflect on it. But it just, the more I give it power, the more I recognize it and say that, yes, I've been able to do it. And yes, it was amazing. So that gives me more power. You know how when one goes to the gym and one builds muscles, this is like you're building your muscles towards that.
Thank you for the vote of inspiration and encouragement.
No,
I forget.
it's a
Yes.
fact. It's a fact. It's not that I am doing, I'm making things up. We all have had these experiences, See, a lot of things now we confuse that. Say, if we talk about faith, if we talk about gratitude, if we talk about surrender, all the big things, they are binary. Every moment, either I am honest or dishonest. Either I have faith or I don't. Either I am grateful or I say I lack. Either I say, तेरी मर्जी के बिना एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता, or I can say that, हे भगवान मेरा क्या होगा, मेरे को बड़ा डर लग रहा है. I cannot be both. So every moment I'm able to choose, say, the better thing, the more expanded version is the moment I was in surrender, is the moment that I was in gratitude, is the moment I was in peace. And when one is more present to these moments, one realizes the joy, the delight one feels, and then, it gets more and more and more grip over you than your older patterns. I was sharing, I don't know when, in which session this week only, that, or I don't know with Deepa, that, I remember the exact time when, for the first time, I was, how we usually have conversations about people. And I remember the exact place where I was standing, who I was standing with, when I asked myself, can you not say this? And I was able to stop myself. And for a minute, it felt really weird that, there was a train coming from inside me. And I said, stop, red signal. And it had to, really put all the brakes. And it was like, oh. But when that moment got over, I was so happy that, oh, it feels great not to say anything behind anybody's back. And after that, that gave me so much courage and faith again and again that, there were still times, there are still times when not wantingly something comes up and I'm commenting and all. But a lot of time, the strength, the delight of that moment comes and says, yes, I can do it. Yes, I don't need to go there. And that's it. That's how it gets strengthened. Yeah, sorry, Ritu, you've been unmuted for quite some time.
Yeah. So one question, like you've been saying that, okay, there's a storm which is coming in you, and then you just stop yourself and tell yourself not to react and be calm. But sometimes, like let's say we are, like once it happened with me, I was in Jodhpur and I was shopping. So,
Sorry.
so there was this shop where a 10-12-year-old boy was working, and the owner was constantly scolding him, in a very bad way, very detrimental way. And he was trying to do his best, but still being the small boy, he could not work as efficiently. So in that situation, I remember I had fought and blasted at the shopkeeper and tried to make him feel so bad for doing something like that. But now when I think, matlab, maybe I could have reacted differently. I could have thought that, okay, that's his journey and that's his journey. He would realize on his own, and maybe the small boy had to grow up
So
like this.
just wait a second. When you blasted that shopkeeper, after that, did you feel happy or did you feel कि oh ये मैंने क्या किया?
Oh, but when I did that, my husband was like, why do you always have to get into
They
problems
forget the
like this?
husbands. They are never important. I'm asking you, but Deepa's husband is important. Let's say that. But in general, they are not. So just you. See, there
See,
is
whenever,
nothing bad or good, right? Anger is
yeah,
not bad or good. Like Jagan was talking about freedom fighters. My most favorite topic of the century, that if a Bhagat Singh is saying कि or say if a Rani ki Jhansi is saying कि मैं अपनी झांसी किसी को नहीं दूंगी, is this bad or good?
see, there is another angle to it. Maybe Jhansi should not, I mean, Rani ki Jhansi should not be so attached to her Jhansi. Maybe that's how it has to work. Maybe her destiny is to give away her Jhansi, but then she was fighting for her Jhansi.
Yeah.
So that sometimes, gets confusing. Maybe like if you're fighting for the country, maybe the country has to follow that journey, and
Yeah.
then
So this is where, what Jagan was sharing comes into the picture, that there is a choicelessness. So when Mangal Pandey picked up that revolver and he shot the guard, I don't think his mind would be thinking कि अरे मारूंगा तो मुझे कौन मारेगा, कितनी गोलियां लगेंगी, अरे सेंस बनती है कि नहीं कोई और स्ट्रैटेजी लगाता हूँ फिर मारूंगा. At that moment there must have been a choicelessness, and they say that that one shot was the first shot that started the freedom movement, right?
but कभी कभी when we get angry, हमें भी ऐसे लगता है choicelessness.
हाँ, तो फिर वो सी अगेन, अगर चॉइसलेसनेस लगती है और अगर उसका वो पेन बड़ा नहीं है, तो फिर तो एंग्री होना बहुत अच्छी बात है, जितना हो बिल्कुल हो. बट द मोमेंट when it starts becoming too heavy, or when one starts feeling disgusted with oneself, then one has to stop. Again, it's a choicelessness. अब जैसे the other day I was reading भगत सिंह की, I think डेथ एनिवर्सरी थी, so it was said that when he was dying, the message that he had sent for his mother was that आप मेरी लाश लेने मत आना, भाई को भेज देना, because लोग ये ना कहें कि भगत सिंह की माँ रोई. That's the, like, I'm just saying that he knew he's dying. He was happily, it's like how they show that how the three were happily walking toward their thing, that we would love to, I don't know, I'm digressing, but I'm saying that nothing is bad in the world. Mother also has this beautiful quote that nothing is bad in this world, but things could be placed in the wrong place. They are not just at the right place. So for when I have to fight, I must fight. And then I feel that if I'm fighting, like say right now, if I'm talking about Bhagat Singh, the energy that I'm feeling in myself, it's like, oh my God, like मुझे दे दो तलवार, मैं किसी को मार रहा हूँ. Like for example, it feels like a very good thing. But if I'm talking about something bad, I feel that constriction in me. So, like अब जैसे हम बोलें कि कृष्णा ने क्यों बोला अर्जुन को कि सबको मार, कि तू कर्म कर, तू फल की चिंता मत कर. दैट सीम्ड रॉन्ग. कि मे बी उस कंट्री का यही धर्म था कि वो वहीं पे जानी थी और दुर्योधन ने ही उसको रूल करना था, राइट. राम ने रावण को क्यों मारा? मे बी वही ठीक था. मतलब बहुत टाइम पे वो ठीक होता है और बहुत टाइम पे वो ठीक नहीं होते. आचार्य जी सेज दिस सो ब्यूटिफुली दैट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट स्पिरिचुअलिटी वी हैव दिस फॉल्स नोशन कि इट वुड मीन कि अरे एक सफेद जो रोब पहने, एक बीड्स की माला लेके सुंदर सा कोई खड़ा होगा या मैं होंगी, और वो एक स्पिरिचुअलिटी की डेफिनेशन है. He says that's absolute bullshit. Spirituality starts with a sword. कि first you have to find your identity. You have to say कि नहीं, मैं ये follow नहीं करूँगा. Because the world is busy taking me towards something. So it's very subjective. It's very where you are. It's about how you feel about where you are and what you want to do. There's nothing good or bad. Yourself would tell you, and I can assure you that when you were shouting at that shopkeeper, after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, when you would have calmed down, you would have felt very happy about it, or still sad कि why was that poor child in that place, but you would not have felt bad about that anger. Like you might feel bad about anger, say, towards your child, towards your husband or your sister.
But we don't know the complete reality. Then, later my husband told me that, and that too happens, like he goes to many factories and there are children working there. So he said that if they're not working there, then in their village, they don't even have food to eat. So in a way, I mean, I can understand that not having
No,
food to eat.
but what you said was that he was treating him badly. You didn't say why was he working. है ना? मतलब एक तरीका होता है, right? हर इंसान के लिए. So that's what I heard. At least that's what you shared, that he was not being treated fine. So
I
we
think
can say,
sometimes this, I think sometimes this happens with me that I may have taken the right action, but sometimes the approach that we take makes us feel bad. So maybe the loss of cool that you felt, Ritu, because you felt indignant about the working condition for the little boy. Maybe you felt you didn't put across your point as well because you were so angry. So sometimes it happens with me. I'm not sure if that was the case with you, but sometimes when we lose our cool, when we get so angry that the focus is more on that emotion rather than on the point that you wanted to get across.
Yeah, that
So
also happens a lot of times. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's more of that because it happens so often with me because I can be volatile as well. What I feel is then the main point is lost in this whole drama, emotional drama.
Yeah. No, but what I wanted to ask was that in all situations, should we be try to be calm, or then there are situations when losing our temper is also okay?
what do you think?
I think it's about choicelessness only. Like there are some situations when we are choiceless. We don't even have the choice of being calm.
Yeah. And so there is no right or wrong, right? But it's just a situation, what I am, say even if we talk about evolution, say we say that Sri Aurobindo came to pull the higher evolution, right? Higher consciousness so that human beings can evolve further. तो मैं बोले अरे क्या जरूरत थी, ठीक ही तो चल रहे
Yeah,
हैं, है ना?
Sri Aurobindo and the mother कभी गुस्सा हुए होंगे?
I'm sure हुए होंगे.
अच्छा.
Yeah.
But we've never come across in any of the readings or any of the talks.
I think we see it in ourselves so often कि वही उनमें भी देख के करना भी क्या है ना? मतलब if we want to rise above our pettiness, if we see greatness rather than pettiness, because if we see pettiness, then I think we'll just get more justified कि अरे वो भी तो होते थे, है ना?
But उनका गुस्सा तो would not be pettiness ना, it would be like a freedom fighter.
हाँ, मतलब I think it's subjective, but हाँ, मतलब I'm sure होते होंगे, but yeah, it's not really out there for, yeah.
So, Taru, I have a doubt because I'm a little new to this discussion and you were talking about that inner voice. Of late, I've become very, very conscious about that inner voice that keeps telling me. And usually I can identify that it guides me through the right direction, but there might be a lot of times I've not followed it because there's a conflicting voice that comes in. And usually that conflicting voice is an easier route for me, or it's a more acceptable route because this is what society tells me to take. Okay. And sometimes in a very tricky situation, when both these voices come, the one which is directing and the one which is conflicting, the difference, the discernment to understand which one is actually guiding me in the right direction is difficult for me. And sometimes it's very clear and sometimes it is very difficult to understand. So how do I sharpen this awareness that even though this voice that's giving me the right direction, first of all, I identify it. Second of all, that sometimes it may feel like this route is more harder to take. I know it's the right one, but I shy away from taking it.
Your answer was in your question, but this comfort, I think it was Vivekananda who said something to the effect that, comfort is like a venomous snake which must be killed with our feet, for example. I think it was Khalil Gibran who said that, the lust for comfort kills the passion of the soul. Like somehow हमको बचपन से we have been told कि go towards comfort, right? Like बस मेरा बच्चा comfortable रहेगा, यार comfortable हो, settled हो. That has unknowingly become the aim of our life and for the life of people who we live with, who we are responsible for, or who we love. कि just let them be comfortable. But comfort may, there's a dullness, right? There's no growth, there's no progress. And in Savitri, there's this beautiful line, I don't remember it exactly, but it's like, that we are tied by a sacred thread. Like जैसे एक काऊ है, वो अपने खूंटे से बनी हुई है, पर उसको ये बता दिया गया है कि ये तुम्हारी रस्सी है ना, ये सेक्रेड है. तो वो बंधी हुई भी चाहे जितनी भी दुखी होगी, उसको ये एक असर्शन होती रहेगी कि अरे देखो सेक्रेड है ना, फिर तो ठीक है, सेक्रेड तो है ना. So we do a lot of things not wanting to do them, but because we have been told they are for the greater good. Sacrifice, do this, do that, keep it, सबकी खुशी में तुम्हारी खुशी है, चाहे तुम जो भी करो. Not saying don't do that, but they are there for the wrong reasons. I have shared this example before, Ritu would remember. It was pretty striking. Once I was driving, from Delhi to Punjab, like I was sitting, somebody else was driving, and we were in an area where it was like absolutely chaos. Like there was some construction going on, the flyover was closed, we were under the flyover, traffic was coming from all sides, and it was like, and you can imagine in India, blaring honking, and from all sides, it was like I don't know, chauraha bhi nahi hoga, 6 roads hongi, very big, and there was this lady alone, looked like newly married, and she had a ghungat. So she was taking one step forward, और वहां से एकदम से स्कूटर आ रहा था, then she would step back. She would take 2 steps, एकदम से कार आ रही है, she would just थोड़ा सा खोल के देख रही थी और पीछे हट रही थी. अब उसमें वो मर भी जाए तो one can say कि देखो कितनी अच्छी थी वो, कि उसने अपना घूंघट नहीं उतारा, but she died for that cause कि मुझे अपनी शक्ल छुपानी है. And somebody else could say that, oh my God, are you crazy, lady? Matlab, you can't see anything. You are standing in the middle of a highway. What is wrong with you? Right? But because in our mind, there are certain things which are considered to be ethical, moral, sacred, we keep doing them. So that is what, what we were reading before said exactly what you were saying, that because the way I live and how conditioned I am. Do you understand conditioning? Like what is conditioning? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. this is what we've kind of grown with constantly due to
Yeah, like
practice,
it
habits,
could
or
have no bearing to the truth,
true.
but we are conditioned that way, right? So
Yeah.
just that, because I am not who I say I am, because what I say I want, I seek, I desire, that too is a conditioning of something, somebody living through me. So till I am able to have that clear inner voice, which is developed by, say, practices of stillness, by constantly offering myself, by seeing the facts for what they are and not what I want to see them as, धीरे धीरे develops itself. I can aspire कि मुझे दो वो आवाज. I can pray कि please अब और नहीं रुका जाता, नहीं सहा जाता. You have to give me the discernment, and it slowly starts taking over the being. And while you are doing that, whatever you are deciding, you can offer that according to me, this is the best, but you please guide me. And see, the thing is, again, Sri Aurobindo states that by your stumbling, the world is perfected. कि अगर गलतियां भी हो रही हैं उससे भी मैं सीखता जा रहा हूँ और सब भी सीख रहे हैं. So nothing to be scared of. But at least when I know I've offered it, when I know my God is with me, then come what may. अच्छा हुआ वो भी बहुत अच्छा है, बुरा हुआ वो भी अच्छा है, मेरा एक्सपीरियंस बन रहा है, तो उसमें ना कोई डर है ना कोई घबराहट है. But again, it takes time until I have developed it, and I will know when it's developed. I can keep saying that you decide for me, you decide for me. Say, something that you really badly want. But still, if you're praying to God, you would not say, जैसे पहले हमारी prayers ऐसे होती थी कि हे भगवान मुझे ये दे दे, वो दे दे, ये दे दे, मेरे बच्चे को पारवी में 95% दे दे. And you know how Vasu was sharing that now my prayer is also that I don't know. You decide. You take me where I need to be. So that also needs to change, right? Yeah, I should not give conditions because my conditions would also be very petty. There's this story about Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. I'm sure you would have heard these names. So जब Ramakrishna Vivekanand से मिले, तो Vivekanand told him कि I want to meet Kali. And he said, why? And he said, मैं ना बहुत problem में हूँ, finances का बहुत issue, I want to ask her for money. तो he said, okay, उसने कहा मिलवा सकोगे? So Ramakrishna, they say, was the first saint who Vivekananda approached it, who said, हाँ बिल्कुल मिलवा देंगे, इसमें क्या, आ जाओ, आ जाना रात को. So he went and he told him to go in the temple, and he said, go, Kali is waiting for you. So he went, and after some time when he came back, he said, you met Kali? He said, हाँ. तो उसने कहा, did you ask for money? He said, नहीं, मेरे से ना आवाज ही नहीं निकली, प्लीज 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 एक मीटिंग और करा दो, मेरे को बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, मेरी माँ को ये प्रॉब्लम है, मेरी सिस्टर को ये प्रॉब्लम है. उसने कहा ठीक है, कल फिर आ जाना. And these are just stories, and we don't know what happened, but I'm just telling you what is popular or known. So second day when he again came, he again went, again came back. Ramakrishna said, did you ask for your money? And he said, no. And he said, why? He said, it felt like I'm asking for I'm standing in front of a samrat, not even a king, right? Kings of king, and I'm asking them to give me a mango. How could I? And then they say he got converted, right? Then he took him as his guru, and he just left his basic life and started. तो फिर जो मैं मांगता हूँ, मैं मैंगोज ही मांग रहा होता हूँ. The God is there wanting for me to be the infinite that I am. But my wish could be, I don't know, anything. We all know what we want, right? A bigger car, a better house, lake view, for example. Those things attract us. It feels kuch mil jayega. But if we just let the cosmos be, it's there wanting to give us everything, in Life Divine, which is supposed to be the most amazing book of Sri Aurobindo, like actually all are, but there's a very famous book called Life Divine. उसमें भी शुरू के chapters में ना यही है कि, you are unlimited. But for you to comprehend that you're unlimited is such an alien idea that you keep defining limit. That even though you might be really expanded, you draw a line around it because we need to understand, right? And we cannot understand unlimited. Who are you? You are everything. That doesn't make sense to us. And making sense is so important to us that we want to limit ourselves कि at least समझ तो आएगा. ऐसे कैसे कि मैं सब कुछ हूँ, है ना? वो तो समझ ही नहीं आता. So again, realizing our I don't know, like our inabilities to understand what I'm capable of can really help us bow down and let him or her them decide what is good. सुनने कहने की बात तो लगती है, बट करने में जो एक डिलाइट होता है वो करने पे शेयरिंग. Like it's not a mental thing, it's not the बोलने सुनने. It's something that one has to do when one feels ready. Yeah, Ritu, I kept going on. मुझे आज लग रहा है कि मोनिका का डायलॉग मारना पड़ेगा. I never stop. But you've been unmuted. I don't know if you wanted to say something.
नहीं, nothing. तरुण, बट हाँ, मेरे को ना अभी क्वेश्चन आया था. Let's say somebody has murdered somebody. So उसको लगेगा कि at that point of time I was choiceless. तो sometimes just acting in a particular manner and telling yourself that I was choiceless is also not the right thing.
असी ऋतु, यहाँ पे एक तो है मेरी चालाकी, right? I got influenced by the vital or by the, whatever the anger and stuff, and I killed somebody. But एक है कि actually में say again what we spoke about say Mangal Pandey, right? What he did was leading to greater things. तो इसमें जब मैं मार रहा हूँ मुझे भी पता है कि what I am influenced with. मैं चाहे मुंह से कुछ भी बोलूं, right? I know what my truth is. I can lie to everybody and I would, but I cannot lie to myself. और ये जब
Let's say there is a person who's
I
we
think
call
it's
him,
better that if we take our own examples, because otherwise it leaves a lot of room for, here and there and hearsay. So if you want to give an example from your life, that would be more effective. But if you don't want to, it's okay. You can take a third person example. But अपनी बात करें तो बात ज्यादा समझ आती है खुद को भी और सबको भी आई थी.
नहीं, अपनी बात तो नहीं आ रही मेरे को.
अच्छा फिर say what you were saying. Let's say.
मतलब जैसे अगर if we even when we talk about a terrorist we would say he's a terrorist. But from his point of view, he is like he's patriotic, he's attached to his own people. So there also, his truth is different and my truth is different. From where I'm seeing things is different. Like here, in case of a freedom fighter, if you look at it from the British, he was somebody who revolted. He was somebody who the British were trying to bring in a way of working things, and he broke that. So that's also a little confusing. Na? What is, from my point of view, my choicelessness might not be also right.
Yeah. Basically, ये जितनी भी what my truths are, they are all relative, right? Like you said that from a British point of view, it would be bad. From my point of view, it would be good. So they are all point of views. There's no truth in it, right? And yet, what, the British, what they compelled to do, they did for various reasons, right? What the freedom fighters wanted to do, they did. They had different reasons. And my observation depends on which side I am standing. So knowing that these truths that I basically live in, fight around, think about, they're all relative truths, right? So then one again, it's like, सबके लिए different है. But that's how where right now I am living. Like say, with Sri Aurobindo, first he was very strongly there in the freedom struggle, right? And then he got jailed. And when he got jailed, he was given, you have read, right? Life in the Prison of Sri Aurobindo. Have you read that book? So usme, the voice said that I kept telling you to go to seclusion, go in seclusion to listen to me. But because you were not listening, I have to put you in the bar, behind the bar, so that you can listen. Hey, this is not what you're born for. You have a different purpose. So in that 1 year when he was in the prison, when he came out, he just let that go, and he went to Pondicherry. My mission is different. For example, so a terrorist, like you said, he's totally justified in his eyes because he's brainwashed, right? That's how they train them, right? This is the right thing for you. And for him, it might be the right thing. But what the harm he is causing? There's so many movements again, the slavery movement, the civil rights. So they are taking away the rights of a human being. So with the British, what was the main problem? Say with Mangal Pandey, the British would not treat them as humans. So you're absolutely right that everything is relative, and these are the truths that I operate in. And when I do have a choicelessness, I would feel that yes, it was choiceless and I do it, and I would not feel bad about it. बाकी फिर ये होते आगे जो हो बट अभी पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है रुकने की. तो फिर then there are no questions really. फिर कुछ करना भी पड़ा, जेल भी जाना पड़ा, मरना भी पड़ा, one accepts it with a smile because वहां पे रहना चॉइस थी नहीं. और जब मेरी लाइफ में ये हुआ है, if I've taken certain decisions, even if I was engulfed by greed or lust or anything, that was important for my experience. I had to go through it. तो उसके लिए अगर अभी कुछ प्राइस भी करना पड़ेगा, I would be paying. But I know I could not do it. But that is making me more towards where I want to be or the person I want to become. Right? It's all towards a greater progress. तो किसने मार दिया, क्यों मार दिया, चॉइसलेस थी नहीं थी, बट अब उसकी जर्नी में वो फील करना था, उसने करा. अगर किसी की जर्नी में उसको रोकना है, वो रोकेगा. और अगर नहीं रोकेगा तो we live like then we live very dead lives. If we are not listening to those callings and we are complaining that कुछ ठीक नहीं लग रहा, कुछ nothing is completing me, satisfying me. But the one who's listening to the calling and even sitting in the jail, he would say कि नहीं, मैंने तो बिल्कुल ठीक करा, अभी भी हो तो मैं फिर कर दूं.
I think end of the day, it's all about doing it with awareness. I mean, if you do it with a shut mind out of a rage of anger, then probably you need to be really thinking about it. So if you're doing it after, like, I'm sure the freedom fighters must have done it after. Just a minute. Yeah.
This is why I feel that when we just use, random examples, we somehow are not able to really take it in because, we don't know where people were or what the frame of mind is. But if we are actually able to even self reflect, we don't even have to do it during a session about my life, my thing, my choices, and my choicelessness. I see a lot more. So you're right that if I'm aware, even after the fact, if I'm aware, it helps me leave certain things, pick up certain things, which would help me in being more towards where I want to be. You were saying something you want to, when the bell rang, I don't know.
I think it's just about like being aware in whatever you're doing. Like,
Sincere,
like,
honest, aware.
like we just read the paragraph before,
Hmm.
like listening to your psychic being,
Hmm.
being calm and then doing.
Hmm.
And every situation, there's a different, uh, what is right, what is wrong is different in every situation.
Hmm.
I think it comes down to the same, the whole circle and then the same thing.
Hmm. So I think it's already almost 90 minutes, although I would have liked to finish this, but we can take it up next time. I share this passage in the group so that we can go through it. And I think next time, instead of going further, we can do some readings on the psychic being. There's a lot of text about, how people say it's the soul and yet it's different. I think since we are reading Sri Aurobindo's Looking from Within and Mothers, this term psychic being, which is not that commonly used, we can spend more time in that. And I'll also share the meditation. You
Even Dr. Alok Pandey has very beautifully explained it in that life, death, dying, and beyond.
Hmm. Is there a specific passage that you want to share? You don't have that book now, no?
No, no.
I don't have it either, but yeah. Yeah, anything, any last comments? I know, sometimes, we are so used to reaching conclusions or saying hence proved, or, this is my understanding, or these are the 10 takeaways, that if we are leaving things unresolved, और just saying कि हाँ कोई रीजन नहीं है फिर भी कोई लॉजिक नहीं है फिर भी it feels a bit mind boggling, but I think it's good to have such endings कि हाँ नहीं समझ आया, हाँ नहीं पता, हाँ आधी चीजें सर के ऊपर से चली गई, and that's okay, right? That's how some things just dawn a lot of times. Yes, Chagan.
Um, I'll just take 1 minute. I know it's already late.
No,
You
no,
know,
please.
yeah, when I was listening to ma'am, no, I'll explain only what I understand, and I would really appreciate if people can correct me. But I find that my anger, no, there are two ways that I'm angry. One is I, one is a selfish anger, and another I find in me is a selfless anger. So selfish anger kicks in when someone hurts my ego or my pride. Someone tells me that you are an idiot. Somebody tells me that, and I cannot accept it. And then I shout at him, do all these things, and after that, when I sit quiet, no, then I realize that actually I am an idiot, and he was right. And then there is a selfless anger where I tell something to someone or to a situation, I handle it with aggression or in a way that shows aggression. And then I go back and I think about it and I'm happy. Like if I have to give example, no, I don't know about girls, but for guys, no, especially with growing up with my childhood friends, it really hurt me when I came to know that my friends started consuming alcohol after the 12th and all, and it's a part of life. I know I was just a little I didn't yeah, anyway. So during my engineering second year, I had this very close friend of mine, my schoolmate. He called me one night and he said, dude, tell my mom's gonna call you. Tell tell her that I was in your house last night. He said this in the morning. So I said, okay, because I trusted him. Like we were been friends. I know he wouldn't do anything crazy. So his mom called me and she's like, "Beta, aapke," matlab, in Telugu, of course, but she said, was he in your house last night? And yeah, he was in my house, and we are doing that and this and all that. And she's like, okay, but I don't believe him. He looks a little different today, and all that. I said, Auntie, you need to trust him, because she never trusted him. I don't know. She would ask me about him. So Uh, so I said, Auntie, you need to trust him and all that. And I was really upset that how could she do that? And then later, what I realized, she comes to my house in the evening. She said that actually, yesterday, he was from a different, university for bachelors, and he said my new friends, no, they called me for a night out, and we all got drunk, and somehow I don't know what he did, but he was extremely drunk, and that's why he didn't go to his house and until the morning, and he made an excuse. And that's when I realized that, oh my God, I supported an idiot. This guy is first of all, it really hurt me that he did that, because I don't know under what assumptions I used to live, but anyway. So I was upset that oh my, so I supported this guy, this guy who is doing this. Oh my God. Anyway, so fast forward, the same friend, somehow, so many examples with him. I live in Vishakhapatnam. It's a port city. So every time there's a lot of rain, no, especially my house is like less than a kilometer from the beach. So the roads are flooded like 3 feet, 4 feet. Same guy, he lived about 3, 4 kilometers away from my house. And there was a storm that day. The roads were flooded. I had my motorcycle, and he wanted to go home. And he could have walked or something, but I was scared for him. I said, I'll drop you. Two reasons I said that. One is that I wanted him to go safe, but that was not my priority. My priority was I wanted to ride my motorcycle in those floods and see how it is. Just have fun. Not much, that just 2 feet water. So I rode. I dropped him in his house. And then I came back. And then my mom scolded me. It's like, पागल है क्या कर रहा है मतलब ऐसे कौन करता है उसको अपने घर he could have stayed overnight. Why should he really go? He said, I don't know, his mom called and all that. And then my mom kept on saying something about this, and I said, after I dropped him, no, his mother was also really scared for him. She was thinking she's stuck and all, and she's happy. She's really happy to see him. I said, no, his mom is happy. I'm happy. What's wrong with you? I said. And the next morning, I was calm and all that. And then the next morning, I wake up, and I actually felt very good about the last night. I said, my mom said, will you do it again? I said, every time it floods and every time he's stuck, I'll do it again because I love it. So that's the difference I find between a terrorist and a freedom fighter. Freedom fighter, after his actions, no, like I'm no way a freedom fighter. I'm just giving an example, but a freedom fighter, when he goes to sleep, he's happy and he wants to repeat what he's done, when even after knowing the truth. I don't think that's the case with the terrorist.
Yes, thank you, Jagan. I think you're pointing at the center of operation, right? Like how we know we don't have to ask. Mostly we know from where we are coming and what our intention was. And yeah. So we'll end the session here. So just taking a last minute to just being grateful and thanking grace for the light that we get through the words of the masters and mystics. And yeah, thank you.